talking with people about how to have a great retirement. This is the Rock Your Retirement Show. We don't talk about money, but we talk about almost everything else you need to rock your retirement. Now, here's your host, Kathe Kline.
We are pivoting and talking about something that I think is very important. And you listeners are going to think this is weird to have Barbara talking about, because Barbara is known for her positive attitude, even in face of adversity. So Barbara might not be able to help me with this today. So we'll see. What I want to talk about today is negativity in people that are over 60 or 65. How does that grab you, Barbara?
Well, I think we've all experienced that moving into a community like I've done. There are all walks of life, all kinds of people, and there are definitely people that have a bent towards negativity. They tend to be kind of pessimistic or kind of like Eeyore. And then it's almost as if the clock strikes and they've got this permission to be grumpy and critical and gossipy and negative. I can give you some of the tips that I try to do to deal with it, but I have noticed that there is a distinct pattern, not only in my neighborhood, but just people I come across.
Well, I run the largest Facebook group in my community. And I know, why isn't the Rock Your Retirement big? It's because I probably spend more time trying to manage this giant group where I live. And today I just posted the following, and I'm quoting, "We adhere to the Bernard Meltzer rule here. Quote, before you speak, ask yourself if what you are going to say is true, is kind, is necessary, is helpful. If the answer is no, maybe what you're about to say should be left unsaid." And then I wrote, this includes posts and comments. Please be kind. Don't rain on other people's parades. If someone asks, you can give your opinion, but if no one asks for an opinion on something, please keep your negativity to yourself. I know we sometimes think that we're being helpful by poking holes, but let's wait until someone asks before extending this kind of negative help that brings the vibe down. Thank you, the admin. And by the way, for those of you that are like, who's Bernard Meltzer? He was a talk show host. I've actually never listened to him, but I searched for that quote because I'd heard it before. But the person who originally said something like that was actually Socrates. So Socrates, way back when, said it first. But it is true, Barbara. There are people that just, I think they think they're being helpful. You know, someone will ask a question like, I'll give you an example. Somebody asked a question the other day, and people are like this in real life too, not just on social media. Somebody asked a question, and the question was, I would like to get my roof looked at, and I don't want to use a roofer. Who do you recommend? Somebody came in and said, well, why don't you want to use a roofer? Roofers, blah, 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 blah. And they went in, and that wasn't answering the question. It wasn't helpful. They'd already made the decision. And a different person had asked another question. They came in and they said, I'd really like to recommend XYZ handyman. He came in. We needed somebody to replace our lock. And he came in, it was late or whatever, and he replaced the lock. I just wanted to recommend him. He's doing a great job. And the same person came in and said, you can replace your lock yourself. It's so stupid that you are recommending this person. They basically didn't do anything. Like, did you ever watch Saturday Night Live?
Sure. Back in the day.
Debbie Downer?
Yes.
And there's just people that exude negativity. What can we do about it? And what if we're that person and we just don't know it? You know, like, you always have such good things, such good ideas. And listeners, I'm putting Barbara on the spot because we didn't talk about this before the show. Barbara's such a positive person. I'm just trying to see if I can play the game Stump Barbara.
Well, working in government, of course, I came across negative people. Think about a building department and think about land use and think about how confrontational it is. And think about how there's 2 or 3 sides to everything. There's the developer's point of view. You're restricting me. You're costing me time. You're costing me money. Then there's the homeowner. Well, why is this happening to me? I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do this. And then there's just the regular citizens that are angry about all of it, right? They're angry about the regulations when it pertains to them, but they're also angry about the developments. And so I learned that the first thing is to listen, because underneath all that anger, frustration, negative, grouchy comments is usually a person that is going through some stuff, or they like to rank down others to make themselves feel better. So when I would come across people like that then and even today, I just kind of examine my own heart. Like, okay, obviously you're unhappy about something. What is it about the way you're treating this clerk at the grocery store, or you're treating the post mistress at the countertop, or social media has just taken it to new heights because there's this anonymity there, right? Even though your name is there, it's just easy to blast something off and not realize how hurtful negative, critical comments can be. And so my first place is just to kind of stop, listen, and try to uncover what it is that's going on for them. Because clearly the way they're behaving doesn't match the situation, right? In your example, you're talking about a doorknob. You're talking about a roof inspection, right?
Right.
And, everybody wants to either recommend someone, friend or family, because there's money associated with it. And no one wants anyone to get a bad deal. And so reputation is really good. But I'm just noticing, because we have multiple Facebook pages in our community. We have one for our lifestyle, all the different things that are going on in the neighborhood. I'm sure you do too. There's a different one for security. Like, what do you do if you see someone, walking near your house or something happening? There's another one for our preserve, and it's totally focused on the oak trees and what animals we see. And it's a very happy place, on and on and on. But there's always somebody that snipes in about something. I think administrators like yourself have the power and control. And I think that you don't like to wield that power and control very often, but you can't be the referee. And so we have a policy that's published when you join that these are our guidelines. And if someone violates it, more than 1 or 2 times, the admins have the ability to take them off the page, to block them. Now, I think in a 55 and older community, that could start a lot of issues, but they do have the ability to admonish people. But when I'm with people, I was on the golf course this week. There was this new person that we were riding together. She just kind of started in. I don't know what she was started in on, but I went, 18 holes. This is going to be tough. Right?
It's going to be a long day.
So what I've learned is deflection and humor, almost as if it's a toddler. You know when somebody's going to go do something and you don't want to just grab their little hand and say, don't touch that, but you say, oh, look over here. And so what I did with the situation is, before she could even get a head of steam up, talking about something that was going on in the neighborhood that she didn't like, I said, I make it my mission every day that wherever I go, whoever I'm with, I try to look at their situation and I try to make their day better. If they're unhappy, I try to get them to smile. If they're on a rant, I listen for a minute and then I give a different point of view respectfully. For the most part, it works because I make it my mission to try to make them laugh or have a better day. Is it exhausting sometimes? Absolutely it is. But in doing that, I try not to be that person, that I try to show up in a different way. And I think sometimes when people are older and lonely and unhappy and miserable, it just comes out and they don't even realize how they're showing up in the world. And then they're wondering, why is no one my friend?
Exactly.
Why do I not have any friends? And it's like that old adage, you need to be a friend to have a friend. I think we could all take that advice times and just look in the mirror and go, what am I sending out into the world? And what am I doing? And what am I saying that's causing me to act like this? And then I would just say, knock it off. But I would never say that to somebody that I didn't know.
So I think sometimes it's difficult for people to know that they're doing it. I mean, we had a couple of years ago, this gentleman that I almost threw him out of the group. Barbara, I have 7 moderators. I do not moderate the group every day. Nobody does. I decided when I created this group that it was too tough because there was another group just before mine that did very similar things that my group did that they shut down. They shut it down because there were 2 women that were moderating this group, and I think it just got to them. And they actually didn't let people post directly. Everything had to be approved.
Ooh.
That would drive me insane. And when I first moved to the community, I thought they had me on moderation and I had done something wrong and I didn't know what it was. But then I found out that's just how they did it. I don't know how 2 women did that. They had 5,000 members at the time of the closure.
Wow.
But anyway, in my group a couple of years ago, there was this gentleman who was very negative, and he would come in and it was always something grumpy. It just made me and the moderators cringe. I was very, very close to removing him, and he had been put on warning status a couple of times where he couldn't post, or at the time you couldn't, Facebook had this thing where you couldn't post or comment without approval. They don't have that anymore. Now it's either you can't post or it's without approval, or you can't do anything, and even with approval. And so anyway, he had been put into alert for a couple of times and I was about to remove him. And I thought, you know what? I'll give him one more chance. And every time he would post something, I would go in and I would say something to try to get him to understand how to behave in the group. Well, what happened was one day I got an email from his widow and he had died. And she said, Kathe, I just wanted to thank you. This was the thing that kept him alive. He lived for your group. I felt so guilty. I felt so guilty that I almost removed him, but he was causing kind of a havoc. And I guess he was sick for a long time. You really don't know what people are going through, especially when it's all online. I'm assuming that the majority of our listeners are probably involved in Facebook in some method. We're just that age group, probably people are still doing TikTok and things like that, but I don't. Really, my only social media is Facebook. I do it as my page. I don't do it as my profile. And so I miss a lot of things that my actual real life friends are doing because I'm not online that way. I get my news from them directly and not on Facebook. But yeah, you just don't know what people are going through. It's amazing how negative people of a certain age. There's a reason why they call it grumpy old men, right? It's just crazy. Although the person we're having trouble with in the group right now is a woman, and it's many times it can be a woman. And I think a lot of times in real life, issues are more with women than men. What do you think?
Well, I think there's a couple good reasons. I mean, with men, either they're home watching TV, they're on Facebook, or they're out golfing or fishing or, doing some of those activities, and they're facing towards those activities. But women, again, not always, but many women that are retired play cards. They go have coffee or tea together. They might have a fellowship group or a Bible study or some sort of club like gardening or, any of those things. What I've realized, though, is that when you were working and things would bug you, just little annoyances, you really didn't have the mental, emotional bandwidth to let it bug you. You just kind of had to let stuff roll off because there just weren't enough minutes in the day. You might get upset about some really big thing, but usually the little things. What I'm noticing in my neighborhood is the gossip chain is active. The snide little jokey comments about this person or that person, and it's usually focused on differences, the way someone does their yard or whatever. And it's like when you have a homeowners association where certain things can be out in the front yard, but you can only have 6 of those things. And then when the season changes, they have to be removed. So Thanksgiving decorations, Christmas decorations, and again, not stereotype, but little old ladies love to go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's or whatever, and they like to make a lot of things, and some of those things bug people. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she was having fun making it. Let her put it up. Let her take it down. So I kind of let go of a lot of stuff, but people get upset and will actually turn each other in over the way they replaced a plant or put a certain guardrail out or whatever. That's the downside, I guess, of living in a 55-year-old and older community is there's eyes on the street all the time. Everybody sees what everyone else is doing. But I think we have more time to get ourselves caught up in all of this drama when really just go take a walk, phone a friend, do something. And I think it's just good for every one of us. I'm not perfect. I'm not always positive. Sometimes stuff starts coming out of my mouth, but I always try to think about, would I say that if this person were standing in front of me face to face? If not, why am I saying it to the next door neighbor or the other person? I think it isn't always with a good heart. It isn't always with trying to help. It's being critical. And I think it's a good lesson for all of us just to take a minute and say, am I showing up like a grumpy, angry, bitter old woman? Or like you said, a grumpy old man? And if so, why? Why am I showing up? Because it starts with each of us. Like each one of us, we don't have control over our neighbors, but we have control over our own attitude. Check your attitude to see, are you becoming one of those people? And if you're not, great. But if you come across one, try to use some humor. Try to use some deflection. Just try to cheer them up because maybe they're having a bad day and you just don't know why.
Right. But then on the other hand, we don't have to poison our lives by making sure that we are hanging around bitter people all the time. I haven't done this yet, but I have started thinking about it. I've been thinking about it now for probably a year and I haven't done it. I've been putting it off, whatever. It's just starting a gratitude journal because I think that grateful people are less angry, less bitter. Also, I think, I don't know if they've done any studies with the blue zones, but I would guess that people in those blue zones are more grateful than people that aren't, that they focus on things that are good, things, what they have, and not things that are bad or what they don't have. What do you think?
Well, I've done, and I probably need to get another one because I think I filled it up, is something on Amazon called the 5-Minute Journal. It's called the 5-Minute Journal. Maybe you can put a link to it in the show notes. It's just a simple little book, and it starts exactly with what you said. You wake up in the morning, and it takes like 20 seconds, unless you're really struggling, and you write down 3 things that you are grateful for as you awaken. And then it usually has a couple intentions, like what would make a great day? If I cheer someone up, or if this goes well, if I have a good meeting, or, whatever. It's all up to you. It can be anything you want. And then you choose how you want to show up in the world, and you choose 3 words. I want to be positive. I want to be kind. I want to be helpful, whatever that is. It takes less than 5 minutes. It takes about 2 or 3. But the key is at the end of the day is to look back on your day and see, well, what happened? Did these things happen? And then the last thing is, what am I grateful for? Obviously. So you start and end your day with what are you grateful for? And that is life-changing, because what I didn't understand about that, and there's studies on these gratitude journals, people like Oprah and Ellen and different people, they are grateful and they do that, but they're successful because of that. Because when you say what you're grateful for and then you write down an intention, like what do I intend for today? You forget about it as you go along your day, but you're subliminally causing that to happen. And yet then at the end of the day, then you're grateful for that happening, and it just starts the cycle all over again. So maybe that's a challenge for all of us to go back on Amazon, grab another 5-minute journal. It literally is 3 minutes in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. It doesn't take a lot of work, and then just see what happens to you. It is definitely life-changing.
So are these 30-day journals, year-long journals? How long is this journal?
I don't know. It was really kind of small, but it seemed like it was several months. You know, it wasn't just for a month. It was several months. I don't know how many pages were in it, but it has little prompts, you know, or it has like a little saying for the day kind of up in the upper part of it. It's just kind of one of those little things that's fill in the blank. And it's only maybe about, I don't know, 5 or 6 inches tall by about 3 inches wide. It's not very big, but it wasn't 30 days. It was longer than that.
So I'm on Amazon right now, and there's a whole bunch of gratitude journals. There's a whole bunch of 5-minute journals.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of these journals on Amazon. So the one that I'm looking at is by Sophia Godkin, PhD. Hers is a little bit different. It has a date. It's got a little saying at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, someone who helped me get where I am today, a sight, sound, or feeling that reminds me why life is so amazing, one way my life is better now than I ever expected to be, a challenging experience that helped me grow into a better version of myself. That was one page. And then a second page has a little bit different. Someone I get to spend time with today, a reason to smile right now, a valuable lesson I learned from a difficult situation, something that went right today. So this one, I don't know how many.
Yeah, let me look here, because it's called the 5-Minute Diary on Amazon, and it was $9.99, $10. Let me see how many.
I think there's 1 million of these journals.
Well, there's a morning routine and an evening routine. So the one I'm talking about is called the 5-Minute Diary. It had the morning routine and the evening routine. It wasn't just 30 days, because it was a book that, you know, took a while to do. And what's kind of nice is you don't have to feel guilty if you miss a day, because it's not dated, right?
Right. Those are nice.
You don't need a built-in piece of guilt. If you don't do it for a couple days, then, you know, you pick it back up. And the one I had was kind of a creamy color. It says the 5-Minute Diary, $10. Everybody's got $10.
Exactly.
In stock at Amazon. I could have it here on Monday, which I think I'll just do that right now, because it's a good reminder to have a healthy habit, because I defy anyone to not do this. I mean, if you do this, it will change your internal attitude, and that starts then changing what you project to the world, and then it changes the attitudes of other people.
Right. It changes the world. So send me that link, and
I will.
I am changing the host of this show. So right now, because it's currently, I don't know how long it'll be on. It's on Spotify for whatever. I mean, it's always been on Spotify, but Spotify is now hosting it, and they don't have a place for show notes. So, yes. So we'll see. And I haven't been keeping the actual website up to date. I've been really lame about that. Sorry, busy. If you send me the link, I'll see if I can put it in the description.
All right.
About it. Because there's 1 million 5-minute journal, 5-minute diaries on Amazon. So let's get the one that Barbara used. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. And you know what? I think sometimes maybe it would be a good idea to anonymously send one of these journals to a Debbie Downer or a negative Nelly. You know, and we'll see. Although, unless it's your idea, you're probably not going to do it.
True.
That's the thing. We can't change other people. We can only change ourselves. And by changing ourselves, that is a small step towards changing the world.
But it is something that our age group, there's stereotypes for a reason. It is something that we can think about. There's a reason that there are these tropes and these things in movies. And, it's almost like you hit 60, 65 and you say, you know what? I'm tired of being nice. I'm tired of stuffing it. I'm going to speak up and I'm going to set a boundary and I'm going to do whatever. And I think, you know what? All of that can be healthy, but it ceases to be healthy when you're hurting other people. And there is a line. It's not good if you're a woman who's been tromped on her whole life and you've suppressed all of your needs and wants and desires, and then it all comes burbling out when you're between 60 and 65 with this I don't care attitude. And you've met people like that, right? I'm done caring about all this. But on the other hand, how you show up is directly related to how others treat you. And it can be a downward spiral. And we know that people that are positive are happier, are more successful, the half glass, half full, half empty. I mean, there's all kinds of data on that, but that's a choice. Choosing how you're going to show up in the world and how you're going to treat others is a choice.
That's right. Before we end this, I just want to let the listener and myself know I can be negative sometimes.
Oh, we all can.
Just when you need support the most, when you're getting older, that is the wrong time to start losing friends or not being able to make friends because of your attitude. So this is a really, really important subject for the listeners. Take a look at your life and see, have you been grateful? Have you been more of a positive or are you more of a negative? It's funny because your friends probably won't tell you. But if you find that people are avoiding you, you have less friends than you had before, maybe it's you. Maybe it's me. We don't know.
I want to add on a little bit too, because gratitude is a great thing. Forgiveness at our age is everything. And having a forgiving heart, a forgiving attitude, and forgiving people that are negative to you, forgiving them for that, but also looking at your own attitude and then going to your friends. Very few people will confront someone that's kind of grumpy. Very few people will confront someone who's on a tear or going off. But do you ask for feedback? Because if people give you feedback, it's a gift. But you can say, if something seems a little strained, have I done something to offend you? Have I hurt your feelings? Do I need to ask you for forgiveness? That's a very humbling way to start a conversation. And yet, how rare do we do it? Because we have a high need to be right. And I would just say, would you rather be right or powerful? Because people that are right just stay right and people isolate them. Powerful people understand in just going through life, we offend people, we make a mistake, we say something we shouldn't, but being quick to forgive and quick to apologize can completely change any relationship around, at least in my experience.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Barbara, for doing this impromptu topic today on, I guess, negativity, positivity, grumpiness, all of the things that we talked about for the listener. Thanks for indulging me. This is something that's been on my heart for a couple of days, and we'll see you next time on the Rock Your Retirement Show. Bye.
Bye.